What's going on, Husker Nation? Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below your thoughts as we progress through our video. Today, we're talking about positional and players of focus on the offensive side of the ball going into spring football. Now, on the offensive line, it's probably our biggest question mark right now. Turner Corcoran is out for the entirety of spring. Gunnar Gatula is out for the entirety of spring. Teddy Prohaska is coming off back-to-back season-ending injuries. He's limited / out for spring. Not sure I have high expectations for him right now. Just unfortunately, his entire career has been riddled by injuries. And then Henry Lutovsky, also off-season surgery. He will be limited / out on the offensive line. Now, let's try and project our starting offensive line for spring. So there's a few things here. One, I want you to do is grab that pen or that marker. You're going to write left tackle, and then you're going to put Elijah Pritchett as your starting left tackle. And then you're going to switch to a pencil, Justin Evans-Jenkins, your starting left guard. Keep that pencil, type in or write in Sam Sledge as your starting center. You're going to switch back to that pen, switch back to that marker, and Rocco Spindler is your starting right guard. And then you're not going to grab anything. And you're going to stare at that right tackle position and go, whoa, I don't know who's going to be our right tackle for spring ball. It is certainly a concern. But real quick, we're going to go left tackle to right tackle here on names to watch. So left tackle, name to watch, obviously Teddy Prohaska. He's been there his entire career. Depends on how he comes back from his injury. Another name to keep an eye out for would be Grant Bricks. Nebraska has used him all over the offensive line last season when he was working on scout team. Nebraska's lack of depth on the offensive line, in particular tackle, is why I think he could be a potential option at left tackle. You'll hear Grant Bricks' name a handful of times in different positions. He's got a lot of position versatility. At left guard, a name to watch would be Henry Lutovsky if he's healthy enough for spring ball. Grant Bricks, again, keep in mind, Grant Bricks was listed as the starting or the backup left guard for the bowl game. At center, it's really, I think Sam Sledge is going to be your starting center. I think worst case scenario, Justin Evans-Jenkins moves over to center, and then you could put like Henry Lutovsky as your starting left guard. But other names that are probably going to get some work at center because there's not a lot of options for Nebraska would be someone like Gibson Pyle or like Preston Taumua. I would imagine Nebraska really tries to figure out between those two where they fit on the interior offensive line, because there's no doubt about it, those two are interior offensive linemen. So we'll move over to right guard. You're going to hear those names again. Gibson Pyle, Preston Taumua. Also, last year's starter, Henry Lutovsky. So the interior offensive line for Nebraska is really deep. We have a lot of solid options. Our biggest question marks are the right tackle. A name to watch for the right tackle spot would be, coming back from injury, he's healthy now, Tyler Kanak. Now, if you recall, when Nebraska signed Tyler Kanak from the portal, I believe it was from like Oklahoma State or something, or Utah. He was at Utah, I believe. He was a right tackle at Utah. He started at right tackle for Nebraska, and then they moved him inside to right guard. Well, now you don't have a lot of options at right tackle. So I think he slides back out to right tackle just because he has that experience. Another option, again, would be Grant Bricks. And then another option would be Henry Lutovsky. Henry Lutovsky has played right tackle before in practice and on scout team and stuff. So he is obviously going to be an option really all over this offensive line. The big thing here is come fall camp. Where does this right tackle position? I mean, is Gunnar Gatula going to be healthy enough for fall camp? And if he's not, is Turner? Because your right tackle spot is awfully concerning as things sit right now. Now, on to the running backs. This is like a big question mark outside of our clear-cut number one. Now, if we can all agree, I think we do, Emmett Johnson's clearly the number one, and it's not even close. So really, who are these other backs that we have that are going to be viable options that are going to be able to perform at a high level on Saturdays? Well, I'm hearing a lot of good things about Mekhi Nelson. Now, keep in mind, Mekhi Nelson came in last season very late. He was originally going to be a class of 2025 recruit, and then he reclassified to 2024, and it was all over the summer, and it happened really fast. Mekhi Nelson is gonna make some moves this spring. He's gonna make some noise. He's gonna be a name we hear a lot about. Same thing goes for Jamarian Parker. The 4-star recruit had offers from everybody in the country. Nebraska signed him. He is someone I believe is going to be an option as that number 2 running back. And then to round out your top 4 would be Quentin Ives. Now, Quentin has been here for 3 years. And I'm of the notion that like running back is one of the easier, and it's not easy, but of all the positions, it's one of the easier ones to get on the field right away. And you can kind of see that talent pretty early. We saw it with guys like Rex Burkhead, Amir Abdullah, Divino Zigbo, Roy Halou Jr., even guys that transferred out. Aaron Green, we saw it with him, and then he transferred to TCU. We saw it with a guy like Braylon Hurd, even though he ended up going to Kentucky. It's just you see it typically really early in someone's career. If it's not their first year, it's their second year. And unfortunately, we're going into year 3 with Quentin Ives, and we haven't seen anything. He's pretty far down on the order. This is his time. He has to make a move now. There is no other option. He is the one back on the roster that is a big, powerful back at 6'3", 220 pounds. He's got a unique skill set that no other back has other than probably someone like Connor Booth, who had off-season knee surgery and probably isn't going to be 100% healthy till summer, I should say. So if I had to guess right now, Emmett Johnson's clearly your number 1, and then it's Mekhi Nelson and or Jamarian Parker and or Quentin Ives. Now, of those 3, who separates themselves, I'm going to bank on Nelson and Parker. I think they just have a lot more versatility for Dana Holgerson's offense. Now, onto a position we thought we were pretty good at. I'm starting to kind of question this right now. Tight end. Mac Markway, it seems to be like his situation is very underreported, and I'm not sure why. So Mac Markway, as a junior in high school, was a really pretty solid recruit. And then he blew out his knee so bad his senior year that he didn't play the entirety of the year. And then he really got to LSU and didn't do much in winter, finally got healthy for summer, and didn't play a ton at LSU. Then he transfers to Nebraska, unbeknownst to Matt Rule. He just showed up on campus one day, and then, a week or 2 later, blew out his ACL and MCL again. There's not really an estimated time of when he should be good to go. It's been 6, 7, 8 months or so since he had that injury, and he's more of an inline tight end. But I don't know why it's so underreported that he's had 2 major knee injuries in 3 seasons. That is a red flag. It is a concern, and it's no fault of his. It's just fact of the matter. He's got a bad injury history on his knee. Okay. Now we have Carter Nelson, who had hip surgery. He's out. He's at best going to be okay by summer. At best. This is a major surgery on your hip, 6 to 9 months recovery time. So now we're going into spring. We have Heinrich Harburg, who just converted to tight end in December, and Luke Lindenmeyer, who I think has looked decent. He's looked okay. Good blocker. But to be the number 1 tight end, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have an option at this point in time. They've got some concerns at the tight end position. I'm not sure if even Carter or Mac will be ready come fall. So now you're going into the season potentially, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, with really Heinrich Harburg and Luke Lindenmeyer. It's a concern that's not got enough questions being raised right now. But who's a name to watch? Well, I'm going to give you 3. And then I'm going to tell you right now, the first guy I'm mentioning is probably the most likely of the 3 that I think sees the field next season in some capacity. Walk-on Connor Shutt. I've heard a lot of really positive things about the 6'6", 230-pound tight end. The walk-on from Bishop Newman, Wahoo Bishop Newman, same place as Connor Booth, actually. Multi-positional athlete in high school. Played quarterback, played running back, played some receiver, tight end, whatever you want to call it, in their offense. So I think he's someone to keep your ears out for. I think he's going to make a move come spring. Another guy, Ian Flint. He was a 4-star high school recruit. He's more of an inline tight end, though. So he's 6'4", 250 or 260. So at least that's the good thing, is the guys that we're kind of coming up through the ranks, Connor is more of like a Heinrich Harburg or a Carter Nelson tight end. And then Ian Flint's more of like your Luke Lindenmeyer. So at least we have some depth at both tight end spots. And I say both because it really is two different spots. You're going to have your inline tight end, like Luke, and then Heinrich and Carter or Connor Shutt are going to be more of your slot guys that are split out wide. They're not going to be true inline tight ends that are blocking more times than not, like Luke or Ian or Mac Markway would. And then we're also going to keep an eye out for Eric Ingwerson. He's the local product from Papillion La Vista. That's actually where my family is from. But potential to move to offensive tackle is one thing I want to keep in mind. Now, when he was originally coming out of high school, I believe he was committed to like Illinois or something, and Illinois wanted him as a tight end. Nebraska didn't. Nebraska wanted him as an offensive tackle. He didn't want to be an offensive tackle. That's why he's committed to like Illinois or whoever it was. Now, I don't know if Nebraska still has that as a potential option, because eventually the tight end board kind of fell apart and they convinced him to come be a tight end at Nebraska. I think it's entirely possible he still moves to offensive tackle. It may not be this year. It could be next year. It could be never as well, but he's huge. He's 6'6". He's 260 plus pounds. He has the frame to be an offensive tackle, or he's going to be a huge like Gronk type tight end where he's just a big lumbering guy down the field. All right, now we're going to wrap it up with, in my opinion, the best position in football, wide receiver. It's always just been my favorite. I've always loved wide receiver. Demetrius Bell is out for the spring. If you recall, he tore his ACL in the spring game last season. He is still recovering. Hopefully he's ready to go come summer, because I think he could be an absolute dude at the wide receiver position. Keelan Smith is also out with an undisclosed injury. Coach Rule didn't specify what it was, but he's a bigger bodied receiver, 6'3", 215, 220-ish. Luckily for Nebraska, they've got some guys coming up through the ranks that are also big bodied physical receivers. Now there's the main group. The main group is Dane Keaton, Isaiah Hunter, Ja'Cory Barney, Janiron Bonner, Cortez Mills, who I've heard is actually crushing it in the mat drills, or did crush it in the mat drills, and then Hardly Gilmore. That's like your main 5 or 6 guys right there for the wide receiver room. Now, typically, a wide receiver rotation consists of 6 to 7 or maybe 8 guys. It kind of just depends on the offensive coordinator and the receiver coach. Now, in Nebraska's case, with Dana Holgorsen and with Dykeel Shorts, probably, I'm guessing closer to 8. I'm guessing they probably go with an 8-man rotation at wide receiver, just because I think it's going to be more of an air raid than people think. I think they're going to throw it a lot more than what's being reported at this point in time. So guys to watch would be Isaiah Mosey, a multi-positional athlete in high school. He played running back. He played wide receiver. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He is great in space. He has a lot of versatility in a Dana Holgorsen type offense. Now, 2 bigger-bodied receivers I want you to keep kind of your eye out for. We heard a little bit about this gentleman last season, Quinn Clark. He started making some moves late in the fall, which is really when Dana Holgorsen came and took over play calling duty. He's a big, physical, and fast receiver. He's coming in at 6'5", 210, 215 pounds. He's a redshirt freshman. He's someone to keep an eye out for. And then my favorite recruit from this past recruiting cycle is Jeremiah Jones, a big, physical receiver, 6'5", 215 pounds. He's a multi-positional athlete in high school. He played quarterback. He played wide receiver. He played running back. He played like a hybrid, like linebacker safety type role as well on defense. Nebraska has him as a receiver right now. He could change positions in the future. Not entirely sure. But right now he's a wide receiver. Big, physical, and fast. That's why I think he's worth keeping an eye out for. There are only 2, maybe 3 guys of his stature on this roster. Other than that, that's all I've got for the offensive side of things. We're going to do a defense, same thing, a defensive breakdown, names to watch, kind of talking over everything here in the next couple of days. Make sure you subscribe, you like the video, share the video, comment down below if I left anybody off. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great weekend, everyone.